Yo, what is good, YouTube? It's your boy James, and today I'm a pretty big Clippers fan. I don't think I've really mentioned that much on the channel, but today I've got a couple things I want to talk about. I want to talk about the Clippers and Trailblazers trade. I want to kind of say my hype of being a Clippers fan, and I want to slander the Trailblazers because this to me is unacceptable as a franchise. And then we'll hop into a little bit of James Harden for um, Ben Simmons stuff. The Nets are now open to discussing a deal per Shams, my bad. We'll talk about that a little bit. But first, I want to talk about the Clippers are trading Eric Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, a future second to the Trailblazers for Norman Powell and Rocco. Now, I'm going to start with the Clippers as my favorite team. I'm excited. It came out, I thought Woj said it. It might have been Brian Windhorst, but it sounded like we were going to unload money at the deadline instead of bringing in more money. But I was talking about this in a Twitter space that I feel like with Steve Ballmer as the Clippers owner, assuming that he's the owner for a long time, even when Kawhi and PG are gone, Steve Ballmer seems like the guy that's just going to want to buy. Kind of like what the Rams have done, because I feel like he wants to earn some LA respect back from the Lakers, which probably won't happen, but I do think that's something that I'll expect from Steve Ballmer. I've noticed that with Steve Ballmer, it doesn't really seem like loyalty matters to him that much. Justice Winslow came out and said he felt like this was a family. At the end of the day, it's business, and I think that's what Steve Ballmer is all about. So I do expect, no matter the situation, Steve Ballmer's got $100 billion in his bank account, that he's going to try to win back some LA fans, and it might be hard, but he seems like that's what he wants to do with the new arena and some of the things he said. So for me, I really like this. One thing that kind of interests me is next year when the team is healthy, if Marcus Morris will just come off the bench or if we transform Norman Powell into a six man. Because when Kawhi and PG are healthy, I assume with a Norman Powell starting lineup, you've got him at the 2, PG at the 3, Kawhi at the 4. And with him on the bench, you've got obviously PG at the 2, Kawhi at the 3, Morris at the 4. And Morris is making $20 million, so maybe he's a part of a sign and trade in the offseason. But I like Marcus Morris. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But for more on the Clippers, you traded away your 21st overall pick, Eric Bledsoe, who you gave up Patrick Beverly and Rajon Rondo for, and Justice Winslow, who you signed, who I actually think has pretty good upside as like a good defender and maybe a roller off screens. And I honestly think he's a decent fit in Portland. So you don't give up much, and you get back Norman Powell and Rocco. Norman Powell's a stud, shooting 40% from 3, 44% on catch and shoots. He can cut. I really like. He can actually go back to shooting guard. And Rocco, we've got a whole bunch of forward depth, but add another guy. Hey, he hasn't been great later in his career, but if anyone's gonna fix that, it's gonna be Ty Lue. So I love it. Hopefully, we can try to go up into that top 6. If we get back PG, I think it's possible. I don't think we can do it without PG, but we'll see. For the Blazers, this guy's comment here explains it all. They traded Gary Trent, who I'm super high on. He's a good fit alongside Dame for Norman Powell. You gave Norman Powell more money than you do Gary Trent, which first off was a risk on his own because you could have done that and Norman Powell could have left. At least with Gary Trent, you would have had his rights, bird rights. So that could have went wrong to start. And then you trade 2 first-round picks for Robert Covington, and you trade both of them for Eric Bledsoe and Justice Winslow and Keon Johnson. It's poor management in my eyes, and the fact that you couldn't have even gotten a first-round pick out of Norman Powell is just beyond me. I don't even hate the fact that they're trading these guys that make money, but I mean, to get a second-round pick and Justice Winslow and Keon Johnson out of it is embarrassing to me. I don't like it, but I do like the idea of them clearing money, but this is just not a package you do that for. There have also been talks about Anthony Simons. I just want to say right now, I do not want to see a lineup of Dame, CJ, and Anthony Simons next year. I will lose my shit. I can't watch it. It hurts my eyes. I can't do it. Now, for CJ trades that I wanted to talk about a little bit, The Pelicans have been mentioned, and then I think teams like the Knicks. Maybe if you want to do Tobias, then the Sixers would make sense. But we'll talk about the James Harden stuff in a sec. I I just don't know. The Pelicans one, I think it makes sense for the Pelicans. But I mean, I don't really think any of their young guys have really shown me anything except for Herb Jones. If you can get Herb Jones for CJ, maybe with a pick, and maybe you can take a shot at Nickeil Alexander-Walker, then maybe. But I don't think Nickeil Alexander-Walker has shown you much. I don't think Jackson Hayes has really shown much. Kyra Lewis Jr. tore his ACL. So I don't really see a package there. Maybe they just throw 2 firsts and some salary cap, and you say, hey, we'll do it. So that's my thought on CJ. One thing I just did want to show next year is this is the Clippers roster at full strength, which to me is just crazy. I mean, I don't even think they have Amir Coffey here, and Amir Coffey has been great this year. You've got Kawhi, PG, Reggie Jackson, who's shown he can hold his own. Rocco, obviously, if he picks it up. Norman Powell. You've got Zubac. They don't have Hartenstein here. Hartenstein's been good. Luke Kennard's been good. Batum is one of the smartest players in the NBA. Terrence, man, like this right here is probably the deepest roster in the NBA. Maybe outside of like teams like Memphis next year, because I don't expect Kawhi and PG to both be back this year. But this right here, to me, as a Clippers fan, gets me so excited. You even got like young guys like Jason Preston, who I don't think is going to be a star in the league, but I do think he'll be a really good playmaker. And he showed some of that in the summer league. You guys probably don't know much about that, but as a Clippers fan, I've got high hopes. And then you've got Brandon Boston, who you can take a flyer on. Luke Kennard and Terrence Mann, I think, are both kind of at their higher of their upsides, but they're still younger. And I did want to say real quick, Keon Johnson, 48 standing vertical. I do think his 3-ball is actually okay. You can maybe turn that into something. At the end of the day, Keon Johnson's floor is a really good defender that can catch lobs, be good in transition. So Keon Johnson, I think, is flying a little bit under the radar in this trade. But at the end of the day, you're giving up Norman Powell and Rocco for him. Don't really like it. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the Philly James Harden, Ben Simmons swap. I do want to start this off with saying I don't think there's any way in hell this trade actually happens at the trade deadline. But if it does, I honestly think for the 76ers it's a little bit risky because at the end of the day, James Harden can leave. I don't think he will. I think Philly is probably the best fit for him because he wants the ring for his legacy, but I do think he also wants to, add to his legacy, and I think Joel Embiid is a good person to pair him up with. So I like that for James Harden. For the Nets, I don't really know how Ben Simmons works out. Kyrie is in shambles. I honestly I don't know what to think of Kyrie. And you've got KD, obviously. Now, if Kyrie were to leave or you even trade Kyrie, I do think a 1-2 of Ben Simmons and KD, that if they can work out chemistry-wise, is a pretty good complement for each other. So I like that, but with Kyrie, it's a little worse because then you're making Ben Simmons a third option where he kind of needs the ball in his hands to facilitate. But other than that, I don't really know. Like I said, Harden, pick and roll Philly. I think Tobias actually fits better if you have Harden. And then you've got Tobias in there with Maxey. Hopefully you can keep Maxey. But if you've got Maxey, Harden, Tobias, you've got Seth Curry still if you don't have to give him up. I like it. I still don't know if they're better than the top teams in the East. And then, like I said, for the Nets, good 1-2 if you keep KD and Ben. Kyrie's in shambles. Hopefully you can get some future assets out of it. But that's about it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think. Pretty hype as a Clippers fan. If you're a Blazers fan, let me know. You might be struggling. But other than that, I'll probably upload some more trades that happen because I hope they'll start rolling in a little bit. But other than that, I'll see you on the next one.